The pandemic has been tough on families, and the youth have made sacrifices as well. In fact, if you can imagine growing up during the pandemic, schools and social interaction, it's just not the same. So how do you help your child or teenager prepare for a world that is getting back to normal? I spoke to psychotherapist Dr. Victor Kidd for some advice. Dr. Kidd, thank you for joining us. It's so hard to know what the next generation is facing just from all the technology they're surrounded by, but now we've thrown in this pandemic too. How do you even start to relate to somebody, a teenager, and what they're going through right now?
Well, I think the big thing that I'm seeing in private practice, just overall when we're dealing with youth, is really being open with them and also helping them embrace their autonomy with decision making and things of that nature. So coming out of a pandemic where you lose a lot of control, right, where you lose the ability to go do things that you once did, I think now is important to empower our youth to lean into their own decision making about how they want to kind of transition back into kind of as close as we've gotten so far pre-pandemic life. And so it's really about listening to them and also empowering them in their autonomy. A lot of times as parents or as shepherds, we want to kind of appropriate and control youth, right? Innately, right? Because you're in a position of power and you want to help shepherd and instill whatever morals you want into a child. But I think we're at a different point now in the 21st century where today's adolescent or young emerging adult is really, really different and very complex and a lot more advanced than what we want to really give light to. So really listening to them, seeing what they want, and how do we support them and bear witness to their trajectory and how they move forward through life. So
we saw so much controversy through the mask mandates, especially we've been talking about it a lot in Virginia and how it plays into schools. And you felt like it was just the parents at first, and then it's like, oh wait, how do the children feel or the teenagers feel? Something like that, something pandemic related that maybe we're moving on from. How do you help them work through this when it's chaos around them?
Right. And the thing is unified messaging in the household. So, really set the standard in the household on how we're going to move forward. Are we going to wear masks in certain environments? Are we going to wear masks, still at school? Taking into consideration does wearing a mask in school or wearing a mask in certain environments impact their social engagement? I talked to a buddy of mine who I used to work with, and she told me, she said, Vic, honestly, kids that grew up over the last 2 years are going to have some real serious social-emotional learning challenges or social-emotional challenges overall because they have not been in a natural environment where you develop those skills in regards to the school setting or the home setting in this natural state or being in the community. So I think having a good stance on what are the 4 or 5 rules that we're going to kind of follow as we kind of still navigate the pandemic, but also understand that, vaccines have got more advanced, science has got more advanced. We're starting to really get a good protocol on how we move through this being a part of our lives, right? As we think about different variants and things like that, I don't think we're out of the gate in regards to variants, so making sure that we set 4 or 5 rules that are really good within the household. And I think a big best practices for me that I like to tell family units when I'm working with youth or working with young emerging adults is just be patient, right? So be patient with the youth, right, in regards to their ability to kind of transition back into society, back into pre-pandemic living, because when we originally, the pandemic originally happened was this assumption that everybody could just transition and everything would be seamless. So we want to kind of walk people back into that. Ease back into life with requirements, right, that will be loosened, right? So kind of tier those requirements. So, hey, we're going to wear masks on, this particular day or in this particular environment. You won't have to wear masks up until this point. Start just going back into ease, and then don't turn the faucet straight on because it could be kind of traumatic with a transition.
Dr. Kidd, thank you for all of the advice, all the suggestions. I know it is going to be just a long road for a lot of people, but at least if we listen to each other, it could help. Thank you so much for joining us today.
All right.